All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about relatively harmful, very harmful things in this video. Yeah, politics, music, culture, the way the news media interprets things, gaslighting. It's all here on this channel of mine, doing what I do in real time for like two or three people out here, like you right there and like me here. If you want to help this channel, I need help. All right. Patreon, good way to support. There are links in the description where you can sign up to do these things. Buy me a coffee. All right. You just want to buy me a couple of coffees, maybe just one coffee. That would help. Also, YouTube memberships, which there's a way to sign up via YouTube for that, and super chatting. I have the famous PJ Rock super chat because he's the guy who consistently will super chat. And that's pretty much all my super chat. Every once in a while, I get one from someone else, but PJ is the best. So I named this super chat after him. So this video is about gaslighting, not by me. It's about great music, talking about the legacy of CCR and the great music of John Fogerty. It's about MAGA, which I think stands for Make America Great Again. I tend to be more Maha than MAGA, but I'm equally okay with both. I'm definitely more Maha because of what happened in 2020 and 2021, and I look at what happened and I think to myself that whole thing could have been avoided, but fear is a very powerful thing. Now, John Fogerty is saying some interesting things, and websites are putting out some weird headlines. And this is going to tick off both sides, actually. It says here John Fogerty can handle having MAGA believers as fans. So, the people who hate MAGA are going to say, really? John Fogerty has capitulated and says he's okay with MAGA people. The other part of this that's kind of irritating is the idea of a MAGA believer, like it's some kind of new religion. Now, okay, I know people are going to say, well, yeah, it is. You people are nuts. And I'm not a people, all right? I'm just me. I am independent, all right? I've always been independent. I tend to vote for the lesser of two evils. I say, okay, what's going to help the bank account? All right. When I go to the grocery store and I have two bags and they're like not many things in there and it's like $60 or something, I'd like inflation to kind of get under control a little bit. We should stop printing money, right? We should have a secure southern border, or at least a system that if you're going to have people come here, we need to have documentation. We need to know why, that sort of thing. But, you know, we haven't been doing that for a very long time. And so when one person says, I want to do X, and the other person says, no, because that's horrible, I'm going to go with the person that says, I'm going to do X. All right. And in the last three elections, it was Donald J. Trump. Does it mean I like everything Trump does? No. Okay. I am not a MAGA believer. That's just the writer here trying to make it sound like, oh, you're in the MAGA believer cult. You know, like, are you a believer in Jesus or a believer in MAGA? You know, they just dumb it down and they make people get angry about this stuff. And John Fogerty, look, John, all right, anytime you want to talk to me about this stuff, I'm going to tell you there's one party that is about 90% pro war, and there's another party that's maybe 50% war. And then technically there's a third party that's like 0% war. That would be like the Libertarian Party. But for whatever reason, strangely, libertarians don't get a lot of traction. I wonder why. Because military contractors hate them. So, you know, 1 out of 2 Republicans and about 9 out of 10 Democrats seem to like war. But this guy, he's got some old views, and I'm going to read some statements here. And they're going to focus on Fortunate Son. And just for the record, I love John. John Fogerty is one of the great American musicians in history. Rock and roll, swampy blues music, whatever you want to call it. John Fogerty, one of the best ever, okay? Ever. And so when he says stuff, I tend to listen to him. He's earned the right to speak, but he's saying stuff to me that doesn't make sense. So Fogerty, whose classic track Fortunate Son criticized Richard Nixon's administration in the 1970s, compared the former president with the current incumbent Donald Trump. Okay. Trump and Nixon, I'm sorry, folks. They're very different presidents, different ideas. Yes, I know they're both Republicans, and you got to hate Republicans no matter what they do and say. In 1974, the CCR song released during the Vietnam War era. By the way, Vietnam started like back Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, right? I think Kennedy decided, yeah, we're going to do this, and Lyndon Johnson didn't like that Kennedy was kind of slow walking it and doing all those things. But of course, then Kennedy was eliminated by who? That's a whole other video. But anyway, the Vietnam War got going prior to Nixon. I think Nixon was the one who actually got it to stop, which they're not going to talk about that here. They're not going to talk about that. They're just going to say, hey, this is the Cliff Notes version. So Nixon is like Trump. CCR, we were all about ending the Vietnam War and talking about those fortunate sons, right? So the song, because people don't know about it anymore, because classic rock stations are playing like Stone Temple Pilots now. So the song was about how rich people were profiting from the war, while poorer people died in the actual war itself. While the sons of those rich people avoided the draft and didn't have to fight. Trump is running around saying he hates war, that war is stupid. Did any other president say that in recent memory? Maybe, but I can't think of one. All right. It's stupid that all these people are dying. But Trump and Nixon are the same person. Okay, sure. All right. I got it, John. I got it. The track's relevance has been reevaluated in recent years with Nixon's controversial presidency compared to that of Trump's. Well, there was a third-rate burglary that went wrong, and so Nixon resigned. So the controversy was that he quit, and Trump decided he didn't want to quit. Trump's been shot at one time and almost another time. What else about Trump that's really different? Oh, yeah, Trump doesn't like war. I don't know how Nixon felt about it. I'm pretty sure Nixon was a Quaker, and Quakers like peace. All right. So if you look at his track record, I believe he wanted to end the war in Vietnam. And yeah, did that take way too long? Yeah. But we were in a war. What was it? Afghanistan? Weren't we like there 20 years? And yeah, Bush was a Republican. He was an idiot. All right. He's a complete idiot. Then you had Obama. He didn't stop it. He didn't stop what was going on in Afghanistan. Trump came along and said, how much are we spending on this war? And so he wanted to stop it, even if you don't think his motivation is good. And yeah, Trump is still doing some stuff behind the scenes. He's bombing this country over here. To me, this illustrates how deep the deep state is. All right, there is a deep state. The warfare part of the deep state is probably the biggest part of it. And to contain it and control it means you got to shut off all of this stuff like lobbying and the military-industrial complex, these military contractors who knock on everybody's door, John Fogerty. Of course, you're not going to cover that. You're just going to look at the person at the top. And they say, hey, I'm Bob from Northrop Grumman. Hey, Bob, what are you doing at my office again? Hey, I can make your next run for Congress really easy. All you got to do is vote yes on the war resolution. We want to keep that Middle East conflict going. We don't want to see peace over there because our stock price starts to tank when that happens. And Congressman Bob goes, yeah, all right, yeah, I want to be reelected, so sure, I'll vote yes. All right. And so that's where all this comes from. It isn't rocket science, but it's easy just to criticize a president. And I'm not defending any president who goes out there and doesn't say anything. I don't remember Obama saying it's stupid that people are dying. I don't remember that. I don't remember Bush saying that at all. I remember Bush like still looking for weapons of mass destruction, much like OJ was looking for the real killer. They're not under this rock. And how many people died in that conflict, right? So Trump, who basically ran against the Bush dynasty, said, you Bush people, stupid. You guys are stupid. So how does that go along with this old school narrative that all Republicans are the same, or that, Trump is Nixon, except he has no shame? He's Nixon on steroids. Again, Fogerty says, there's certainly no secret about a song like Fortunate Son or Who'll Stop the Rain. You know what my worldview must be. But I don't hold fans responsible for the activities of Mr. Trump. Now, I'm sure the people on the left are not going to like this because he's not condemning the people. Okay, so give Fogerty a little credit here. But people voted for Trump because they don't want endless war, John. I wish everyone was a little, even if, okay, let me say something else here for those who are really black-pilled. Even if Trump doesn't follow through with everything, which that's going to be up for debate and all the people that write the history books. But guess what? He's on record as saying he doesn't like this stuff, which the other guys basically say that's irresponsible. We need to be the leader on the world stage. Okay. All right. Well, that means, translation, that means more endless war and more spending for Raytheon. Fogerty goes on to do a little Bruce Springsteen thing here. He says, I wish everyone was a little bit toward the middle. This goes back to that stupid Jeep commercial. Not too long after, Springsteen was pulled over for DUI, but he did the whole commercial talking about how, I wish more people were in the middle. I wish they were in the middle like me, Bruce Springsteen. Does anyone think Bruce Springsteen is in the middle? No. He's on the left, all right? He's way on the left. And these people are basically now on the left or in a different time zone or area code because Trump is the president. So if Trump says, got a proposal to end the war and cure cancer, they would say, I'm against that. I'm against that because Donald Trump is for that. If Trump came all the way over to their side, if Trump announced that all student loan debt was going to be erased tomorrow with a dividend or from the tariffs that he's raised, they would still be outraged. They wouldn't know how to handle that at first, but then they would figure out a way to make Trump sound like an idiot. All right, which this is what they do every day. And look, again, I am not sure. I am not Q. Someone accused me of being a Q person. That's funny. QAnon, really? All you MAGA people are evil. Okay, I'm not a MAGA person. I'm not a MAGA believer. I voted one way 3 times. I voted for Trump. I'm proud that I voted for Trump. I mean, proud might be strong, but I don't regret doing what I did. Do I think Operation Warp Speed was a good idea, for instance? No. Do I think someone needs to repent of that? Yes. Will it ever happen? No. Why? Because of the art of the deal. You never admit that you're wrong or that you're weak and all that stuff. It's personally, I think it's a horrible life philosophy, but Trump's the president again, so I'm not. I'm just some loser here talking on YouTube. So Fogerty goes on to explain Proud Mary, and this doesn't make any sense here. He's talking about the vocals. The track sounded really stunning, but the lead vocal was lousy. So this is talking about why he's redoing these songs again, which I don't think he should be doing. He basically says that when he was singing that song, he was under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure because it was life or death. Whereas now, he can do as many takes as he wants and get the song right. So I think the original Proud Mary is fine. I think all of the original CCR tracks are amazing. And Fogerty, an amazing singer and a super underrated guitar player, or at least unheralded. I mean, Rolling Stone thinks that Joni Mitchell is better than John Fogerty on guitar. So maybe Joni's the best guitar player in the world. I don't know. Better than Eric Clapton, better than Fogerty, better than Stevie Ray Vaughan, better, maybe even better than Jimi Hendrix, right? All right. So I don't know. I'm a little fired up. So the gaslighting here is ridiculous. They just can't understand that even if it's just talk, okay, even if you just left it there and said, who talks more about peace? These Democrats, would Kamala Harris? She would have wanted to look like she was strong. Yes, of course, send the military in. I've got to look tough. And the media would have fawned all over that and said, yes, it's so cool how Kamala dropped a nuke on Russia. That is so cool. I'm sure there'll be no consequences for that. Those Ruskies, they learned a lesson here, and they'll never bother with us again. No, it's like World War III. And then the military contractors would have been so happy, so happy. And this is why they put their money with some of the dumbest human beings in the history of the world, like George W. Bush. All right. So if you liked George Bush, I'm sorry. Say what you want about Trump, but I would take Trump over Bush. I would take Trump over a lot of people. The people we've had, I mean, Reagan to me, still probably my favorite presidency, more or less because of the way he conducted himself. And I remember the gas lines of the late 70s and having to switch the license plates on the car to buy gas. And my parents, they voted Democrat all the time. Yeah, the Democrats are the ones that are going to rescue us from all of this debt and all of these high prices. And yeah, inflation was a big problem in the late 70s. Didn't start changing until about 1983 when the party started. And the party kind of kept going. We had a few blips, but even into the 90s, it wasn't bad. Bill Clinton, who triangulated, who worked with Republicans and got balanced budgets. Not my favorite guy or anything, but the 90s weren't so bad. And then, of course, we blew up the debt thanks to endless war and looking for weapons of mass destruction, which we've still never found. OJ never found the real killer, and we never found those weapons of mass destruction. So someone should do a documentary on both of those things. Where's OJ's real killer, and where are the weapons of mass destruction? I would pay money to go and watch that. So... All right. Sorry about this video. I told you I was going to go off on tangents. Plug here for the band King King from the UK. Holy crap, Batman, Robin, and the Riddler. This is called Standing in the Shadows. This is where you ought to start with this band and then work your way forward. I think they might have one or two releases prior to this one. But if you like Bad Company, if you like Paul Carrick or the band Ace, if you like Eric Clapton in his more contemporary, bluesy sounding stuff moments like from the 80s, King King is superb. All right. And I'm going to get at least one more release by them. And a new album is coming in late September. And I'll probably order that too because I like talking about new stuff, as well as shooting my mouth off about politics and stuff that makes people change the channel or click out of the video. I get it. I understand. Before I go, just remember, folks, Jesus is the way. You come to Jesus in the condition you're in. While while you're still a sinner, you come to Christ. You don't clean yourself up first. The Bible does not say you need to clean yourself up first. And you're not going to eliminate all the bad behavior and sin in your life just because you've decided to follow Jesus. It's a lifelong progression, and all of us fall short. And the best thing you can do, though, is to accept Jesus as your Savior, because without Jesus, like I say, there's just no hope. None whatsoever. All right. God bless everyone. Talk to you soon.